What is up guys, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video, what I'll be doing is explaining to you guys how to find the best sensitivity on keyboard and mouse in Fortnite. This video is going to cover the most effective methods that you can use to find your sensitivity, and then I'll also be discussing how you can actually learn a new sensitivity quickly, and obviously reach a high level with it. If you go on to enjoy this video, be sure to drop a like on it, and consider subscribing as well if you want to see more content just like this in the future. Alongside that, I wanted to let you guys know that I'm beginning to stream on Twitch way more often, so if you have any questions you need answered about the game or just want to hang out and see what's up, then I'd greatly appreciate if you could drop a follow over there. The link to that is going to be twitch.tv/Teckoh, which you can also find down in the description. But with all that said, and without further ado, let's hop into it. So starting off, I want to go over some of the basics relating to sensitivity. Specifically, I want to explain what's known as EDPI. EDPI, or effective DPI, is basically your pure sensitivity in Fortnite. When you're setting up a sensitivity, at least on keyboard and mouse, it's easy to misunderstand how high or low your sensitivity actually is, since it involves both your DPI, which is a mouse setting, and your in-game sensitivity, aka the percentage that you actually input within Fortnite. Thus, we use EDPI to combine these two so we can know our exact sensitivity. Calculating EDPI is really simple. Basically, you multiply your mouse DPI by your in-game sensitivity percentage as a decimal. So in my case, I use 15.5% in-game sensitivity with 400 DPI, so thus I'd multiply 400 times 0.155, and that would result in an EDPI of 62. And since this calculation is purely multiplication, you can also have a higher DPI and a lower in-game sensitivity with the same EDPI. For example, 800 DPI and 7.75% in-game would equal 62 EDPI, which is equal to my sensitivity. So obviously someone with 800 DPI and 7.75% in-game would have the same sensitivity as me. Taking another person's sensitivity, let's use Mongrel as an example. He uses 800 DPI on his mouse and 6.2% in-game. So doing the same multiplication for that, he would be at 49.6 EDPI. So moving on from that, now that we better understand EDPI and have a way to actually discuss our exact sensitivities, let's now discuss high versus low sensitivity and which one you should actually be using. In general, sensitivities are going to be split into three distinct categories: low, medium, and high. Low sensitivities are usually going to be 48 EDPI and under. Medium sensitivities are typically going to be above 48 and under 96. And then, as you might expect, high sensitivities are going to be anything over 96. That's obviously just a general outline, and you might find it to be different, but that's just the outline I go by since it seems to be fairly consistent. Thus, at 62 EDPI, I'd be towards the lower end of the medium range, making my sensitivity pretty normal. Our other example, which was Mongrel, would be at the bottom of the medium range, but wouldn't be quite considered low since he's 1.6 above the bottom of the medium range. So this brings up the question, should you use low, medium, or high sensitivity? In Fortnite, the meta is constantly shifting and evolving from more mechanical pump metas, which are better suited for high sensitivities, along with slower metas like the charged shotgun meta, which would obviously be better suited to a low sensitivity. Overall though, I recommend trying to set your sensitivity where you're comfortable with every weapon and item regardless of which specific meta might be going on, and thus I recommend that for the most part you go with a medium sensitivity. The main reasons I recommend this are because it's essentially meta proof, along with giving you one set sensitivity that you can practice consistently instead of having to switch it around all the time depending on what meta is going on. Now that's not to say other sensitivities are bad, and if you specifically prefer higher or lower, then be my guest because we all have different preferences. I just find that for the majority of players, medium sensitivity tends to be the best fit. Once again though, it does vary quite greatly from person to person, so if you do prefer a higher sensitivity or lower sensitivity, then that is perfectly fine as well. So now that we've discussed most of the core information that you're going to need to know relating to sensitivity, let's now talk about how you can actually go about finding your perfect sensitivity. The two main methods that come to mind when it comes to finding a sensitivity are the PSA method, also known as the perfect sensitivity approximation method, along with the trial and error method. There are other methods that people have used and recommended, but from my experience personally, I find that these two methods tend to work easiest and be the most consistent, so that's why I'm going to be going over them specifically in this video. The first of these two methods, being the PSA method, is a bit more complicated than the trial and error method, but is still relatively straightforward. The first thing you need to do is figure out a sensitivity approximation. Basically, consider whether you'd prefer low, medium, or high sensitivity, and just put in a general estimate for your sensitivity into the PSA Method Calculator, which is going to be linked down in the description. From there, the calculator is going to give you the option to go higher or lower depending on your base sensitivity, and basically you're going to want to hop into the game, play with the sensitivity for a bit, and decide whether you want it higher or lower. And basically you're going to want to continue this process until you find a sensitivity that you like, or the calculator will narrow down your sensitivity to an exact number based on your choices of higher or lower, and that's how your perfect sensitivity is determined. The PSA method is a really effective way to find a sensitivity, and it's pretty much all based on your own preference, so it can really help simplify the process of finding your perfect sensitivity. Along with the PSA method, another method I recommend for finding a sensitivity is the good old trial and error method. This method, as the name implies, is where you choose a sensitivity, try it out in game, and just continue adjusting it over and over as you see fit until you find the sensitivity that you like. This method is relatively similar to the PSA method, except it doesn't require any special calculator and is really just the simplest approach you can go for when it comes to finding a sensitivity. It works like a charm, but it might take a bit longer since it's not quite as precise and calculated as the PSA method is. Either way though, whether you choose the PSA method or the trial and error method, hopefully this helps simplify the process of finding your sensitivity and obviously helps you find something that you like. Once again though, the PSA method calculator is going to be linked down in the description, and with that said, let's move on. Finally guys, moving into the last section of this video, I want to give you guys a few tips that you should know when it comes to learning and practicing a new sensitivity, since I noticed that a lot of players tend to struggle with their new sensitivities at first. As you might expect with any new sensitivity, one of the main keys is simply going to be time. The more time you practice your new sensitivity, the better you're going to get with it, simple as that. However, I also do recommend that you emphasize creative practice before you start hopping into actual matches with your new sensitivity. When it comes to learning something new, whether it's a set of keybinds, a new sensitivity, or something else, it's really important that you start with the basics and then get more and more advanced as you improve. So to start, you might want to do something simple like practicing some building techniques you're already familiar with. Once you've gotten down the fundamentals and you're getting a bit more comfortable with those building techniques, maybe try out some in-game aim training in something like Scavic's in-game aim trainer, which I'll put the code for on screen. After that, once you're comfortable in a single player aim training context, maybe hop into some aim duels, then progress into 1v1s, and finally into real games. Now obviously you don't have to fully plot out every single little step you're going to do when you're trying out a new sensitivity, and you definitely don't have to follow all of these steps as if they're a law, but the concept still does apply. Essentially, you're going to want to start with the basics and then slowly get more and more advanced until you're at your previous level with your new sensitivity. After that, aim training on a consistent basis along with simply playing the game should get you to where you want to be. It really doesn't need to be overly complicated learning a new sensitivity. Just like anything else, start with the basics and then slowly work your way up to more and more advanced forms of practice, and you should see plenty of improvement. But with all that said guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Hopefully this video gave you some useful information about sensitivities in general, along with helping you find your perfect sensitivity and then optimize your practice to master your new sensitivity fast. If this video helped you out, be sure to drop a like on it and consider subscribing as well if you want to see more content just like this in the future. And once again, feel free to check out my Twitch down in the description if you're interested, as I'll be doing a lot of awesome stuff on there, and I can also answer some of your questions about improving at the game. Thank you all once again for watching this video though, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.